ahead of time.
Yeah, I can send you it.
We're live.
All right. So our hopefully last foundational document. We have been doing this for, I feel like 9 or 10 hours now, and it has been awesome. And I'm really looking forward to doing the declaration. And I'm glad that Raymond's here to join us, and hopefully Radek will see us and come and join as well. All right. I don't know who wants to read?
I can go through this.
Or, Raymond, do you want to tell us how this process goes? Do we just read and then?
Well, yeah, I was just going to mention first that really it's kind of really strongly recommended to anybody that's a signatory to be present for every moment of this document, and then to be present certainly for the invocation. So I don't know is it perhaps appropriate to put Radislav in a different category of as observer and participant, but not signatory.
I'm fine with that.
We're good with him being there.
Well, but I think so. The question is, like, do we want to keep him there and not follow the instructions that Raymond's been saying the whole time? Or do we want to say, hey, Raymond's been saying that for a while, maybe there's a reason. What do we do? Like, because
and right, that is exactly the question, and is 100% up to you guys. Of course, I have no attachment.
Yeah, because it might just be a time zone thing, right? But it is like he's missed the last few, so I'm not sure if we want to treat him as like a person who attends, and then he'd be one of the first people to get credits and get moved over. But for just like the invocation part, I'm fine with either. But
I'm fine with either. There's just something about like that we're doing it without him. We're like taking him off without him here, which is the whole reason to not have him here. Like the tension in it of like, well, I want him to say that it's okay for him not to be here, which is why we would take him off, because he's not here for us to.
Right. And this is the governance, like chicken before the egg problem, right? So this document is the one time we get to be just flow with what's happening. The rest of the time, once the document's done, you have more procedure around anything. So this is the one time we get to flow, right?
Yeah. So I'm okay with like leaving it up to Adriel and Bentley. Should we take him off and we can re-invoke him next time for, you know what I mean? If he's like, actually, no, I did want to be part of that. We kind of already honored that beforehand. And then if he shows up, we can literally copy and paste him right back on now. And if he's like, I'm all good with either or, we keep him as a person. He is the first person who goes up, which will help us figure that piece out in action. We've already stated it in this document, but actually doing it.
So I made a suggestion on the document. Totally a suggestion, of course. I'll undo immediately if you don't like it.
I think it's fine.
Yeah, that's good. And that would give us a chance to experiment with the first meeting to actually do something. So by putting him as a...
I see what you mean. So in the first meeting, start the process to make him not a signatory, but a PIC holder. Is that the acronym again? PCIC.
Yeah.
I
guess we could make him a PCIC without him being a signatory, theoretically.
That's exactly right.
Oh, true. Being there in the JBook wouldn't be a signatory. That works. So, but do we want to use it as an excuse to go through the process, or do we just want to start him off with a PCIC?
Let's just leave it like this. Although, Ray, that is interesting. So as you're kind of adding people to PCIC, do they become signatories later on, or is the signatory just the initial founders?
Generally, the signatory is this criteria, exactly the one we're discussing, is everybody fully present for every moment of the creation of this document. That's generally what the idea of a signatory is, right? And so I even noted that if you want to have that in there, that's what I sometimes like to note that.
Which that sounds like kind of, I guess, the closest thing to reality then, because he hasn't been able to show up for the last few. So we still want him involved. So he still has the credits. He's the first person who has a credit that isn't a signatory. But we've sort of have pushed off the meetings that Bentley couldn't make it or stuff like that. Like the three of us have been here for all of them. So I think that makes sense. We're the signatories. We keep Radek with a PCIC. He's still got the votes and everything. And that follows the whole, how many people have to be present for quorum and voting and all that jazz.
Yeah. I like it.
I like it too.
Okay, let's so you guys just want to just kind of popcorn around reading a section of the document each, and if anything comes up for anybody that is not 100% yes, then I guess we should talk about it, knowing that we really do have some immediacy that Jubilee is bringing forth. So yeah, taking all that into consideration.
All right,
so we'll start with the vision.
Should we start at the very top and read the whole, like what it says at the very?
I think we just did the
okay. I'll start since I'm at the top of the video. Vision. A world where abundant resources are available to projects that have long-term benefits to most beings.
Next, mission. We facilitate shared resources for projects that have long-term benefits to most beings.
Councils, the primary council is the only council so far, and that's the primary council stewards all assets listed herein.
All right. And then Raymond, do you go or do I go, since we're the ones you're going to declare?
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, good. Okay. Currencies. Primary council influence currency, PCIC. Description represents influence on the primary council. Assignment procedures. Join the Facebook group. Keep showing up to Friday meetings. A PCIC holder will propose assigning PCIC. And initial holdings are 1 unit each for Jubilee Briscoe, Adriel Briscoe, Bentley Davis, and Radislaw Zadeskuk.
Radic.
And then do you do this whole section, or do we want to cycle through these two?
I can go through. We don't have that much to read, so he'll be reading a lot. Mission, metrics, currencies. How do we know the mission is being accomplished? Our total views, that is YouTube plus Facebook, and the peak number of views, what is the highest number we've had during it? Interactions with weekly update posts. Count 2 numbers, top level comments, and the total.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
For other currencies, sort of side term as equity, there's the participation currency, where people can earn 1 participation currency for each meeting attended. That will help sort of become people like Radek who will become participants, and there will be more actions that can earn these in the future.
Cool.
This is one of those things where I'm just going to stop for one moment. We had stated last week, instead of just attending, they can also watch, especially if they make a comment that's like, I'm here, right? That we can like take attendance in that way. That's how Radek was last week with it.
Yeah, and the only other thing I might recommend there is to get in there as soon as possible if you want to and use this template, description, assignment procedures, and for the PC, and to be just more specific about that, so it's crystal clear how people know how they get it and how it's official, right? Cool.
The mission is being accomplished, yeah. And it really attended does mean both physically on camera and watching. Just
right.
That is attended can mean both of that. But when we were first saying it, I was hearing it as you had to physically be here on screen, and it doesn't necessarily mean.
Yeah. How's that?
Yeah.
More actions. And then do we want to go through and have the exact same structure, or do we just want to leave it as is?
It'd be nice.
I'm okay with it as is.
Perfect. So we did that. All right, so onto the assets.
And the other thing that's probably worth trying to clarify right away is if you're going to have a spreadsheet or something to track the currency holdings, or how you're specifically going to do that, you probably want to note that.
Okay.
That'd be a good idea.
Which I guess we're probably going to do that for both. And there was something else we're talking about doing in a spreadsheet last week.
I think it was the comments. It was the interaction with weekly, the mission metric.
Yeah, like
I think we can put
the week over week.
So we will create a spreadsheet and record it, because we also had talked about that because it's a live video that we record. We don't even if we didn't do that for a few months, we could go back and do that, right, and say what those things are. But we also having a spreadsheet and keeping it as we go sounds like a better option.
Yeah, and I have a template, a really simple template for multiple for currencies. You put one on each tab. If you guys want that, let me know. And what you're typing right now, whoever was typing that, might be an initial team accountability.
Okay.
Yeah, create the currencies spreadsheet. We could have one tab for each section in there.
Yeah, and then do we want one spreadsheet for everything? Because we're also talking about tracking these numbers in the spreadsheet. I'm fine with either, but just like, do you want to keep it clean and have these separate sheets, or two totally different sheets?
I think it'd be good to keep the. I don't care. I'm thinking about it. Now let's just do this 3 spreadsheets, just so they're quicker to pull up.
Then let's go.
Sometimes if you're using Google Sheets and get a lot of data, they're very slow.
Right. So let's see. Currencies. So we have the currencies. I think we were saying that Raymond said he was going to provide a sheet that had sort of different worksheets for each. So we just have one for currencies with 2 different worksheets, and then one for KPIs where we're tracking these stats week over week.
Well, those are all currencies. They're all currencies, right?
Perfect. I was going to say, if someone else creates the spreadsheet, I can put the numbers on it. I'm okay doing that. I just can't really create a spreadsheet that's going to look good. That's going to be for other people use. But
just ask about the template. It's really simple. Yeah.
Sounds good. So if I get the template from Raymond and then someone else makes it more for our needs, right? Because I'm guessing it won't be perfect for what we need, then I can track. I can type in a number week to week, right? Right now we're at 2 for that, and as long as it's done right after.
Sure, sounds good.
You type in the number and then you just drag stuff. You know how to do that.
Yeah, I think. Yep. I'm pretty sure I do. All right, should we go back up? Where are we reading this from at the moment?
Yeah, assets was the next one.
Okay.
We just did the.
I think that'd be me reading assets. So the assets we have at the moment are brand, TogetherTec, the TogetherTec.org domain name and website, our Facebook group, and YouTube channel.
Cool. So I recommend getting more specific as soon as possible about what brand means. It probably means like something along the lines of intellectual property, right? So what intellectual property? And you can go infinitely deep with that stuff, but just a little bit deeper.
Realistically, I think it's just the trademark and the domain, which there isn't an official trademark, but the unofficial, whatever trademark normally means.
Right. So there you go.
Yeah.
Specific.
So
trademark.
maybe if we could just edit it to say brand parentheses trademark or something on there, Adriel.
When I think brand, I think more like where we're positioning ourselves in. The market is probably not the right word, but I can't think of a better one. So
So that's what brand means, but no one owns that. It's we only own the channels to express our brand. If someone outside says something, it's just no one within the team without permission is allowed to. Yes.
Which is like, to me, brand is the name. It's literally the name TogetherTec, right? And what we're gonna make that mean together, right?
Well,
so
if you control the name, then no one is allowed to express what the name means without permission. So if you have control of the trademark, then you have control of the brand.
See what I'm typing there? So at least it says that.
Yeah.
I would recommend that.
Is there an extra? There we go. TogetherTec brand. I think I'm comfortable with that. I feel like we talked about that a lot when we put it down. And so brand was probably the most succinct word we could have used in that moment, but putting TogetherTec with it is just instead of do we own Adriel as a brand? Do we own we know what
right.
What
this is saying what this is mostly saying is for yourselves to know that you are honoring the governance process set forth in this document over these assets, right? And even if you could argue in game A in a court or whatever that this is my asset. This is your word of honor. This is the contract you're making to say whoever would call it my asset is incorrect. It is our asset, right? Cool.
Perfect. Yeah. And so Raymond, are you going to read the proposal process, or should I? Since it's
go for it.
Okay. Proposal process. Proposal initiation methodology. Proposals are initiated when at least 2 PCIC holders are present in a board meeting. Proposal iteration methodology. Proposals may be iterated when at least 2 PCIC holders are present in a board meeting. Proposal resolution methodology. At least 75% of PCICs must be present in the board meeting in order to resolve a proposal. In order for proposal to be positively resolved, 100% of PCIC holders must approve for the proposal to be positively resolved. Upon positive resolution, all details of the initiation and iterations are recorded along with the details of the final proposal. Details should include who initiated the proposal, the iterations, any dissenting opinions, and who participated in the resolution. After a positive resolution, it will be officially adopted until the end of the next board meeting. It will not be officially adopted until the end of the next board meeting, assuming no PCIC block in the interim.
And then one thing that might be worth noting there, because I think Raymond had brought this up the last time, was the difference between PCIC holders and PCIC. Where for us, it's kind of a moot point because you've only got one credit, so it's the same thing. But I think that's why we left that terminology to say PCIC instead of holders. It's because we're saying like, I mean, it ends up being the same thing, but just those sort of two different.
Did I put in PCIC
whoever
holders?
increase PCIC holdings, it's not the same anymore.
Right.
So you definitely want to be clear on which one you mean, and you do have it both ways. I noticed that as well.
Yeah, so for the first two, we didn't take out holders, so we should take out holders. Is that
Well,
what
no, because these are, in my mind, these are talking about people. These are where it's at least two people have to be present. If you're one person that has two credits, you can't have a meeting by yourself.
Okay.
But then down here, when we're actually resolving it, where we're saying 75% of PCIC, so that's saying if we end up changing it so people have multiple, 75% of the PCIC credits have to be present. So I personally think that it's good as it is, but that separation of these two being holders because it's talking about people, and then these actually talking about like the credits themselves, and have full.
I'm good with that because I'm good with also stating that at this point we've said that there isn't a time necessarily where someone's going to have more voting power than somebody else, but that might make more sense later on down the line. And if it does, we have that option. If not, even if they all go up to 80 PCIC points and someone has 79, we're probably not going to count those up, right? If someone has 40, but
you dilute the reasoning to even have currency if you don't just use it that way. So I think that's the right decision, Jubilee.
All right. Should I reread it? That part? Proposals
Yes, sure, go
ahead. Sorry. Proposals are resolved in board meetings. At least 75% of PCIC must be present in the board meeting in order to resolve a proposal. In order for a proposal to be positively resolved, 100% of PCIC must approve, or the proposal to be positively resolved. For the proposal to be positively resolved. I'm not going to reread it again because it's not. It flowed the first time, and now it's my brain's like, nope, it's refusing. So if someone else wants to read it, or we can just go on.
Sure, I'll take a stab at it. Proposals are resolved in board meetings. At least 75% of PCIC must be present in the board meeting in order to resolve a proposal. In order for a proposal to be positively resolved, 100% of PCIC must approve for the proposal to be positively resolved. Upon positive resolution, all details of the initiation and iterations are recorded, along with the details of the final proposal. Details should include who initiated the proposal, the iterations, any dissenting opinions, and who participated in the resolution. After a positive resolution, it will not be officially adopted until the end of the next board meeting, assuming no PCIC block in the interim.
Okay, yeah, I didn't hear that last sentence the first time because you don't define PCIC block at all. So that's big.
If any PCI, actually that is PCIC holders because PCIC don't block, people do.
Gotcha.
We're saying so even if you only have one and everybody else has 100, you're still a PCIC holder and you can block. Is what we're saying right now.
Yeah, gosh, we got to totally talk about that. It's going to take more than 2 minutes that it would take to talk about it in 3 minutes to change the document. Because
I can tell you we talked about this for a very long time, and that is exactly what we mean. That one person, one vote, and if it comes against it, then we will figure out how to.
Right. So I understand what you're going for, and of course, my job is to help you write it down. And there's a way we need to write it. I think that's totally ambiguous the way you have it right now.
Got it.
Yeah, and mainly because it's a resolution means it's done. So you're saying these things happen before it's resolved. Like these things have to happen. A week has to go by, and nobody has to change their mind. Like I think that's the way it needs to be worded.
Sorry, say that again.
So it's something like to accomplish these sounds what seems to me the exact same thing you're proposing. It would just be worded more like there's initial pass at resolution. If everybody is in agreement, we wait till the next board meeting. If nobody brings it up that they don't agree anymore, then it will have officially passed. Then resolution is complete.
I see. So like in the top parts, we're talking about passing something not being resolved, and then we only use the term resolved at the very end when it's actually in place.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to say after positive resolution, because positive resolution represents the act of it being active and enforced, and right, that is what that thing is supposed to mean. And I get to say that because I invented the terms. That's what I mean by it.
Okay. So
right.
I think resolved. I think more right. Like you can pass legislation, but it might not take effect for 3 months or 3 years, depending on the legislation.
That definitely makes sense in the sense it's like a way to think of resolution. That's not what I intended it to mean.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
which I appreciate you calling it out, because that's an important thing to be on the same page on.
Right. And just, unless it is my responsibility now to moving this project forward to get crystal clear on all that stuff. So there is a reference point from these documents back to what we intended it to mean, and a checking in with you guys when that happens, right? Because that will be, it's almost like a constitutional issue about the terminology we're using, right?
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you. This is all beta, so thank you for being part of this and giving me valuable feedback.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for helping out with all that you've done so far. Okay, so I think, do we want to make a note that we want to come back and tweak this, or what's the next step for this part?
Yeah, why don't you highlight it or something and just say we need to.
You could, I think you could totally just take out that last sentence for now and just put it as a note, and then add it back in later with the right wording.
That's a good way to do it.
Okay, sure.
Because then you just don't have to wait. So the resolution to change this document will not include the week-long wait, or I mean, board meeting wait.
Right.
So
as soon as we resolve it, it's in place, and then later on we can add the part that says, "Hey, let's slow down the adoption process."
Yes.
Or resolve. Okay, that works. Do we just want to put that down in the cleanup section, and then we can go visit the
you just
the
put it
history
as
of the document?
Initial team accountability. Figure out how to include this language in the proposal resolution section.
Perfect. So that was here. We talked about that part. So that part now is good. We have jurisdiction, but I actually have to go in 1 minute.
Yeah, we can. Well.
Yes. I guess if you guys want to continue from where this is, somebody else will have to screen share. But then hopefully that'll be fully dialed, and we can tweak that part and anything else that comes up. And then next time, hopefully it'll be ready to invoke.
Okay, sounds good.
Unless you want to be sticklers to the rule that at least all three of you should be present for every bit of it. Yeah.
I mean, we can't really go against that in the same meeting that we moved Radek.
All right.
Sorry, Bentley.
We could still just do it first thing in the new year. We could do a thing in the new year.
Sounds good. We can also, if we want to continue and get Raymond's feedback on this part, so we have it on video. And then, like Adriel was here, although he won't get to put in, and then he can rewatch it and kind of look at that. But we won't invoke it, right? So we won't be doing the final. If that.
Well, what we could do is we'll do anything in suggest mode for the rest of this meeting, and then when Adriel comes back, you can just review the suggestions.
Sounds good.
Sure. Okay.
Sounds good to you, who won't be here. All right. Oh, except you're the screen share and the person who's live. But I think you can go, right? Because it'll just be okay.
Just make sure that you end the broadcast.
Yeah, I will definitely end the broadcast after. One of us will have to screen share though. So exit full screen. Let me just try.
I can pull it up. It's just gonna take me a second to find it.
I have it. I can do it. Just give me Chrome and should I find where it was in here? TogetherTec Collective Foundational Documents. Sure. I might not be the one to type things out though on here because I won't be able to do both. But oh, I see. I'll need to because it'll be where it is on my screen. Where are we? We're here. All right. Who wants to continue reading?
So
Bentley, I believe.
jurisdiction, yeah. Jurisdiction, dispute resolution.
Cool.
Yeah, so this is just think about time on how external jurisdiction assertions might be handled. We will not be incorporating to start with, and we trust that conversation will start naturally when required. So we don't have any. Yeah.
All right. Our initial.
You could say, actually, you could say something like, we will not be joining in with any external authority as it relates to the recognition of this collective. You know, if you want to be like slightly more specific, but it's pretty good.
I think we will be incorporating if we continue on, just not yet, because it doesn't.
Right. I was just saying the beginning of the part, you still leave the rest. Yes, absolutely. But just you could, so incorporating is a little bit vague, I think. What you're saying is in specifics to dispute resolution and jurisdiction. We will not be appealing to any external authority for recognition of the existence of this collective or any dispute resolution purposes. And we trust that a conversation to change that will arise naturally at the right time. So anyway, no big deal.
All right. I like the way the wording. I think we can rewatch that part of the video and try and get that in there.
Okay.
See if Adriel agrees. So we were trying to kind of figure out how to say that we were like, Raymond was trying to kind of say this and we weren't quite. So I think that'll be something, yes, that we can.
Well, I mean, I can just cite the suggestion if you want.
Yeah. If you
yeah, if you can add it and then we can, yes, sounds good.
We will not be requesting.
I don't know if I yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't know if I correct the spelling, whether I can on your. I can. Right. Or will it be that I will be like, and Jubilee suggests to change that? I think we're good. Okay. I can read the initial team accountabilities, or do we want to wait till you're done that?
Just about done.
Okay.
There we go.
If Jubilee, if you want to do one section or something, we could alternate.
Okay. Initial team accountabilities. Facebook. Weekly project updates will be Bentley. Membership emission will be Jubilee.
For StreamYard, the weekly meetings will be Adriel.
And then the website, the domain name is mine, Jubilee, but we will, I'm sorry, I'm just going to read it. Website, domain name is Jubilee. Website content will be Bentley once he is given the login.
And then for YouTube, the playlist management is Jubilee.
Spreadsheet will be we'll maintain them for currency and KPIs.
And we'll figure out how to include this language in the proposal resolution section about after positive resolution for the week. I'll just summarize that, say the waiting for a week before positive resolution.
Cool. Right. So on this section, we could definitely go a lot deeper if you guys are interested. What I usually recommend is a 3-loop process. I'm still connected, yeah?
Yeah. What do you mean by a 3-loop process?
Sorry, it just went silent. Somebody's background noise went quiet that I've been hearing all the time. You go through it once. You list the accountabilities, what actually needs to get done, and it seems like some of those things are vague as to what we're actually talking about needing to get done. First of all, and then second loop through, you would say who is interested in part. You would recognize. Sorry, second loop through, you would recognize a relative value on each of the tasks in one or more equity currencies that you've defined, which also it doesn't look like you've defined those yet. So different types of contributions can get recognized as equity currencies. What relative value would you put in equity currency for the various types of contributions of these types of accountabilities? And then the third loop through, you would decide who wants to work on each of those accountabilities and maybe just set up anything you want to note as to how that's going to look or whatever to get those done. And that can get into a lot of detail because in the creation of those equity currencies, you have the assignment request and assignment procedures. So getting very specific with all that. I actually have a whole template document. It's the protocol.love suggested accountability equity assignment procedure or something like that. If you really want to get deep into any of that stuff. And it's totally like, I'm just looking for vagaries so that, it doesn't leave room for dispute later on kind of thing. But none of that really, I don't know if you'd ever want to say, oh, well, it says here playlist management is up to Jubilee and she didn't do it or something. And I don't know. You could get to a lot more specifics. So knowing what you're talking about with those items and what you mean by it and why they're doing it and how they're being recognizing for having done it and which actually can turn into compensation at some point. Like that whole conversation could be had if you want. And I'm glad to have that with you. Other than that,
when we went through it, like I like that idea of that loop process for other things that I'm working on. And for this though, because PCIC holders are kind of just a one or nothing, and we're like, okay, I can do that. It needs to get done. And we're kind of figuring that out, that it would be more work to do, it would be more work to figure out that system than it would help us. Right. As opposed to, does that sound true to you too, Bentley? Or do you think going through that and for us to figure out, because there's nothing that it has equity yet anyway, right? So like, oh, you own 80% because you've done all of the work of something that isn't incorporated and we don't know yet. So
yeah, the currencies and equities weren't one of the main things that drove us to this document and this process. So even though I imagine that's usually the major thrust of other organizations, it still might be useful to say that for some of those things that we're supposed to be doing it weekly, but since there isn't really a penalty,
something like, to me, there's a difference between an accountability and a role, and it sounds like there's a mix of them there. If you ask me, there's like something to do one time, and there's other things that are like, this is an ongoing role that somebody's committing to doing on a regular basis, and you could clarify that at minimum if you wanted to.
Yeah, and I get,
because there's creating the spreadsheets and maintaining the spreadsheets are two different things, stuff like that.
Yeah, and then also just like, the accountability piece to me would be like, are we going to check in on this every week and be like, okay, did I put and I'm going to tell you, I don't go in every week and change the thing on the YouTube channel. I go in like once every month and be like, which ones haven't been done, and add them, right? Like, it's not something I do on a weekly basis, but just saying, hey, when's the last time you did it, is accountability enough to say, hey, did we post on Facebook? Yes or no is actually, to me, okay accountability. It's like, say no means you need to do it next time, or that difference between just knowing if it's done or not.
Bad news is I just have another couple minutes of battery life. Good news is I think that was most of it. So it sounds like we know what, if anything, what could be addressed before you invoke, and I'm glad to support in any way.
Yes, so there's nothing else in there that you would provide feedback on, right, Raymond?
No, I think the areas that I stated are the places I would offer additional depth of support, and it is totally your choice as to whether you want to call on me for that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to add a note, actually, to kind of take your feedback on the team accountabilities, and then I think we'll want to discuss this further.
Sounds good. My other question, you might have said it while my dad was interrupting. The invocation. Do you want to be here for the invocation, Raymond?
Yeah, I'd be honored.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Want to give it another try?
Yeah. We'll do our part in that.
He'll keep showing up until like a couple years later. We'll finally invite him.
Hey, I think we came into the Collaborative Governance Technologies Collective Foundational Agreement. I think we came in 4-5 different times thinking we were going to invoke, and we finally did. So
perfect. All right,
yeah.
I can stop the screen share. Can I stop the screen share? Or do we still? Because I think it sounded like your battery is going to die. What are we doing?
Yes.
There we go. And we can probably say goodbye, and we'll see each other again in the new year. Raymond, I'll see you on our other things. And is that right? We're not going to meet again till the second week of January. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, Bentley. All right, take care. And I need to not just leave, I need to end the broadcast. All right, goodbye, Facebook and YouTube. We're ending early.